Welcome, Tessa. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Me too. Me too. It's been a while that we booked this session, so I'm happy that we are finally here having this conversation.
Yeah, it was a while ago. Where I think we had to reschedule, right? So
yeah. All right. So today we are going to talk about the power of partnerships in business and why being yourself is key. We will get into this very important topic shortly, but first, let's understand a bit about you. So tell us, Tessa, what is your story?
Oh, okay. So my story is I grew up in a fairly normal and in fact quite privileged childhood until the age of 16 when my mum had a brain hemorrhage. And at that point, my mental health took quite a dip. And that was, I would say that was the kind of the trigger, the starting point, if you ask me to pinpoint where I started to struggle with my mental health. And from that point onwards, and in fact, even before that, I've always been a high achiever. I've always been pretty good at whatever I turned my hand to, and anything that I wasn't good at, I immediately discarded. I don't want to do that. That's stupid anyway, right? That was my personality. As I grew, I went to university, I graduated, I changed my mind, decided I didn't want to use my medical degree. My father was thrilled, as I'm sure you could imagine. And then I went into hospitality and I realized that people were my thing. So I spent a decade in hospitality in leadership roles before moving into more sales-based roles and coming onto cruise ships. I spent 4.5 years traveling the Caribbean, working for 6 months on board the ship and then coming home for 4 weeks and then going back out again. And then the pandemic hit and I started my own business as well. But I think a key point in all of that was that all the way through, my mental health was always prevalent. It was always up and down, and I would have stages of real deep, dark depression, really quite high peak debilitating anxiety, and yet I was always pretty high functioning, and so people didn't necessarily realize what was going on until it hit an extreme where I never want to say it's too late to get help, but I was at a point where I should have received help much sooner than people realized or I admitted. And I remember sitting on my father's sofa crying and saying, but Daddy, I don't know how many more times I can do this feeling of boredom, of what I call a drop and run. So I would get to a point, I would bounce between ideas and relationships and places that I was living and jobs and friendships and projects. And from the outside in, my life looked so fun because everybody was watching to see what I would do next. I was always, in a tropical place or with doing something fun with someone new, or I would have this project that I was all in on. But on the inside, I was really struggling with these feelings of indecision, with failure, with not conforming to the norm. I'd reached an age where my friends were starting to, be a grown-up. And so, and they were getting jobs that were their careers now. They were building careers, they were building homes, they were building families. And I was just building debt. That's what I was building. Experiences as well, but debt. And I remember just hitting this point where I was like, I can't do this again. I can't restart again. And I was very lucky to have a mentor who was very focused on self-development, personal development, and spirituality. And he introduced me to the work of Jack Canfield, who is the guy who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. And he also is the founder of the Success Principles. And when I received this book, it just changed everything for me in terms of how I was thinking about how much I could do with my own life. So I started to implement these principles. I then proceeded to go and qualify as a Success Principles trainer so I could deliver that information myself. And then when the pandemic hit and I was looking for something to do because ships were not functioning anymore, I realized it's been in me all this time. I have always been great at entertaining, inspiring, training people, So why not do that for myself instead of for other people's businesses? And so that's how I got started, and that's where I am today.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you work as a success principles coach and trainer.
Yes, yeah. So I use them in what I do. I would say that I tend to work mainly on business strategy, but a lot of these principles are a huge part of that, because as you know, every good strategy needs the mindset work to go with it.
Yep.
Definitely that's part of what I offer now, but I wanted to be quite specific in terms of business as opposed to life in general, because I think everyone's version of success is very different, right? So if I just go out there and say I'm a success trainer, people are like, what does that mean? You teach me how to get married, you teach me how to make money, what does that mean? So yeah.
No, I love that, because everybody, as you said, everybody's definition of success is different, and that definition can differ for us depending on what is going on in our life then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fluid concept even within yourself. So your success and my success are very different. But then even with me, what I think is successful, and I say this in particular when I come to mental health, which I talk about a lot, what I think is successful when I am really in kind of the depths of my mental health issues is being able to get out of bed, maybe washing my hair, maybe replying to a text from a friend. What is successful for me when I'm feeling quite well is standing on stage in front of 500 people and delivering presentations. And so it doesn't need to be black and white, tick, I've reached success now. It can be whatever you need it to be in the moment. Yeah.
Oh, that makes so much sense. It's a fluid concept. Success is a fluid concept. I love that. So tell us, Tessa, how do partnerships feature in all of this?
So as I mentioned before, I always knew that people were my strength. And both in my personal life and in my professional life, I'm lucky to be able to connect with people fairly easily, and never been someone to shy away from the spotlight either. So when I started working in my business, I did all the things that I think most people when they first start online do. So I followed all the gurus, and I watched all the masterclasses, and I did all the free challenges and downloaded all the freebies, and I was trying so hard to do everything. I was on TikTok and I was on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, and I was like, let's start a podcast, let's do a YouTube channel. I had everything, and none of it was working. And it's because I was spreading myself too thin, but also because I wasn't really clear on what I actually wanted to help people with, other than I wanted to help people be successful in their business. But that, again, that's a little wishy-washy, right? People are like, okay, but what does that mean? And so I've always wanted to do things in integrity. So I found it I didn't want to be someone who was like, I can teach you how to make 6 figures from a course, because I'd not made 6 figures from a course. So I didn't want to just do that, even though I've no doubt that I've got the sales knowledge that I probably could help you do that. I wanted to be honest and transparent. So I thought, what am I good at? What do I do? What have I done in the past? And I thought, I have sold loads by, and I use this word because there isn't a better one, using other people, by utilizing other people. Not using, it feels manipulative, but utilizing the tool of other people.
Leveraging other people and network.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I'm going to steal that, leveraging. Yes. So as a perfect example, when I was working on ships, I was one person on a ship that had 4,800 guests and 1,200 crew. And I was a team of one. So I used to sign on to a ship of 6,000 people as one person, and I didn't have a team. It's not like I got on board and then they were like, okay, so here's your assistant or here's your partner or whatever. No, just me. And as time goes on, you've been on ships for a while, you're guaranteed to know more people as you sign on, because obviously the crew move around. But when I first started out, I was getting on ships full of 5,000 or 6,000 brand new strangers as well. And on every cruise, no matter what destination, the guests would sign on the on the morning afternoon, and then the following day I would do a show, and my show would be to tell everybody about what was going on and where they could shop and where they could buy things and everything like that, right? And so I had less than a 24-hour period to try and get in front of 4,800 people and tell them why it was important that they could come and watch my show the following day when they're on vacation and they've got bars and games and bingo and food and sunshine and all of the other things that they could be doing instead of being at my show, okay? Yeah. And I learned real quick that that is absolutely impossible. I could have stayed awake from the second that the first person stepped on that ship and I still would not have reached all 4,800 people. It's not possible. So I started thinking, how can I reach more of these people? So I thought, who are the first people that they really have like a proper contact with? And I realized it was the housekeeper, because the housekeeper would come and greet them when they were coming into their rooms and introduce themselves, say that they were the housekeeper for the cruise, and then find out what time was good for them to come and things like this. And I thought, right, how can I get the housekeepers to talk about me? So what I started doing was making friends with the housekeepers. And so I went to the housekeeping team and I asked the manager if it would be possible if I could come to the meetings to thank the housekeeping team for all their work and just give away a couple of prizes and gifts as like motivation. So of course they were like, sure. So I started going to the housekeeping team at 6:30 a.m. and I am not a morning person, to go and thank the housekeeping team for all that they do. And I would say, because if you did not do the fantastic job that you do, the guests would not be happy. They would be grumpy, they would be upset. And if they're grumpy and upset, they don't come and spend their money with me. Simple. And so I used to bring huge bowls of candy that I bought from the CVS. I would just bring, and I would say, help yourselves, this is for you this week, candy. Thank you so much, everybody. And then I started implementing incentives. So I would have tickets to my show where people had to write their cabin number on. And I would ask the housekeepers to give out tickets to invite people to my show. And then what would happen is I would bring because I used to do raffles in my show with the same tickets. I would bring the raffle box to the housekeeping meeting and I would pull out one ticket, and whoever owned that section that the cabin was on, I would reward them. I would give them a gift, or I would give them cash to spend in the gift shops on board or something like that. And so I became known as the candy lady. That's what they knew. But my goodness, did they talk about me, because they knew that if they got people to my show, there was a chance they were going to win prizes. But also, more importantly than that, and kind of coming back to the point, they felt appreciated by me. They saw someone recognizing that their work paid off for someone else on that ship. And so even without the candy, even without the prizes, just saying hi to them when I walk past them, just saying thank you, just asking how they are, made such a difference. And so when I then sat and thought, okay, what am I good at? What can I do in my business? I thought, I am really good at finding ways to leverage other people and show appreciation. And then I realized, wow, this is really easy and accessible for everyone, no matter what level you're at in your business. You could be making millions of dollars, or you could have just started out and not even have like any way of people contacting you yet. And you're still equipped with the same tools because you're human. So as long as you know how to say thank you, you know how to show appreciation, you know how to acknowledge the efforts of other people, you're already partway there. And so that's how partnerships became, okay, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm focusing on. That's what I'm good at, people. Mm-hmm.
Wow. What a beautiful story. What a beautiful story. And it makes so much sense because my background is in talent management in the corporate world. So when you were talking about incentivizing, you were talking about building those relationships, rewards, gifts. It makes so much sense. And yeah, because you were seeing and hearing people and you were seeing them as human beings, well, you were investing in those relationships, and that paid off.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really encouraged me to kind of think outside the box with who could help me. Because really on that ship, everybody at some point, apart from maybe kind of, the people who are actually functioning on the ship itself, like your engineers and your officers and things, everybody who's in the hotel department on that ship comes into contact with guests at some point. So how can I make me be such a positive experience or a positive impact for them that they want to talk about me, even if they're not being incentivized to do so? And so, yeah, and I say this now all of the time in my business, but I said it back then as well. Never underestimate the power of being a decent human being. It's as simple as that.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So what would you say, what do you exactly mean when you say being a decent human being?
So one of the things that I do with clients, the first thing that I ask them to do is I ask them to get clear on their values. What are important to them? What do they want to achieve in the world? What makes a difference in the way that they make their decisions? And then I ask them to get really specific about what their non-negotiables are. So what are things that you absolutely, without a doubt, for every decision must consider? And if the decision didn't fit the value, it would be a clear no from the off. And once you've got those values in place, you can start to think about how you're going to connect with other people who share those same values. So this is not, I want to make it clear, this is not about assuming that you are better than someone else or that someone is not a decent human being, because again, in the same way as success, ethics, morals, values, they're all fluid as well. And certainly I've learned that being here in Sicily, the cultures and the values here are very different to what I grew up with. And so I have to learn to be respectful of people here who do not hold the same values that I do. It's not about being better or worse than someone else. It's about being in alignment with other people who you're going to choose to work with. So that's the first thing, getting clear on those values. And then the second thing is simply appreciation. So I always tell people, if they're wondering, well, how can I do this? I ask them, how do you like to be appreciated? In real life, forget business. In real life, what's your love language? How do you like to be shown that you're loved? How do you like to be appreciated? So my love language is acts of service. And so I respond really well when someone does something to help me, especially if I didn't need to ask for it. In business, that translates into somebody sharing a post for me, even though I didn't ask them to, because they just did something that helped me. How lovely. Or someone saying, hey, I saw you were really struggling with this, so I finished it for you. Okay. Or, that's my love language. I feel like words of appreciation is a really obvious one. If you are someone that likes to hear that you are loved and appreciated, then feed that back to other people. You go tell people that you love and appreciate them. And instead of just internalizing that thought, which lots of us are guilty of, how many times have you been scrolling through a feed and you've thought, oh, that's funny, or oh, clever, I didn't know that, or oh, how awful, but you don't comment, you just keep going. You think it in your head, but you just keep going. And instead of just thinking it, do it, act it, say it. And you'd be amazed at how many more connections you create if you actually just externalize what's happening naturally inside of you, because humans are designed to connect with other humans. That whether you're introvert or extrovert, you are designed to connect with other humans, just in different ways. Yeah.
I love how you explain that. Just externalize whatever is going on inside you naturally.
Yeah. Like, don't put pressure on yourself to suddenly go and, you see these strategies that are like, go and leave 5 comments on 5 posts and send 2 DMs and like a story. And I'm like, oh, it feels so out of integrity for me, because I'm like, I don't do that. I'm not a chit chat person. I'm not a small talk person. I want weirdo conversations. So I start strange conversations. I ask people things like, if aliens came to Earth and you could only take them to one place to show them humanity, where would you take them? And let people see that I'm a little bit of a weirdo. That's what I do.
Oh, I love that. So if aliens came to Earth, where would you take them to show them humanity?
If I could only take them to one location, I would take them to an airport arrivals lounge. because I think that you see the full array of human emotion in an airport arrivals lounge. You see sadness, you see joy, you see excitement, you see boredom, you see tiredness and grumpiness, and you see rich, you see poor, like you see everything. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What about you? Where would you take them?
Where would I take them? I wonder if it's possible to beat this response. Because at an airport, you actually see the whole range of emotions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, I don't know where I would take them.
This question is always really interesting because it also gives you an insight into the type of person that they are, because I'm deliberately vague. I say they could see humanity. And some people take that and they run with it and they say, okay, I want them to go and see like really poor area so they can see what humans have done to other humans and what people have done to the earth. And then, like, for example, my father said that he would take them to see the Paralympics because he thinks that that's a real demonstration of human strength. And so it's interesting to hear what people's values are, even within that answer. My dad immediately heard humanity and went, human strength, that's humans. Whereas I think emotion is humans. And so what you think would be different as well?
Yeah, well, the first thing that occurred to me was contrast, because there's no one thing that defines humanity. And I was thinking, where can I take them? I could actually take them home. I could take them to India because it's a place which is a land of contrasts. We have some of the richest people in the world living there. We have some of the poorest people in the world living there. It's an amazing land of contrasts.
Yeah, it's similar. My stepsister said that she would take them towards the areas in Beverly Hills where you see these multi-million houses and then people living in tents at the bottom of their grounds because they're so large that they don't even realize that there are people on their grounds living homeless, So I think contrast is a great way to show people humans. Definitely.
And I definitely relate to airports as well because I love traveling, and yes, while we are waiting at an airport, we can see there are some people saying goodbyes and there are some people eagerly waiting to get on the flight, and there's boredom and there's grumpiness, a whole range of emotions.
Yeah, and a whole range of cultures and things as well. Like I always say, when I land back here in Sicily, where I've traveled, you can always tell the Italians versus the tourists, because the Italians, they push people out the way to get the bags. They're like, because here queuing is not a thing. There's no lines here. You just do what you want, get what you want, and go. And then you see like all the British who are all stood back, nice and like waiting. Can I just yeah. So, definitely so.
Sorry, can I get my bag, please?
Sorry, you just stepped in front of me, but sorry to inconvenience you. Could you move now so I could? Yes, yeah, definitely.
Oh, I can see how good you are with people. You just understand people.
Yeah, and I worked in hospitality. Even my medical degree was people, right? So people has always been a focus. And I think it's interesting because sometimes that's an objection for people, is they say, well, okay, but it's easy for you. It's easy for you because I am, and I don't say this to be boastful, I am naturally good with people. I'm an empath. I feel what people feel. I can pick up on emotions very quickly. And I've always been very good at adapting my communication to who I'm talking to. And I really honed those skills when I managed nightclubs, because I could literally go from talking to a member of staff as a manager, a member of staff who needed some help with something, to a drunk, hysterical 18-year-old girl who can't find her shoes, to a police officer on the front door, to a drunk man on the front door, or an aggressive man. And so I had to very quickly assess the situation and think, how can I talk to you? How can I communicate with you? And then I did some NLP training, and that really kind of hammered it home for me, this idea of listening and watching how people behave and how people speak, and understanding the words that they use give you an indication as to what words you should use in return. and the behavior that they're exhibiting gives you an indication as to the kind of behavior that you should exhibit in return as well.
Yeah, being able to have those conversations, how can I get through you, especially with the kind of diverse situations that you shared with us? Oh, that's such an amazing skill to have.
Sometimes, though, it really is as simple as just saying, how can I best support you right now? Because they can tell, they know, right? Have you ever been in, for example, an argument, or you're witnessing an argument and you think, wow, why are they reacting like that? I am a hothead. And then, so typical, of course, that I ended up with an Italian man. I'm a hothead, and I will, once I've lost my temper, I'm pretty irrational, and you just have to let me get it all out, and then I relax and I calm down on my own. If you tell me to calm down, probably the worst thing that you could do. I'm just gonna keep getting worse. It's like almost like a challenge to me.
Yeah.
And my boyfriend is quite fantastic at handling me, because he will say, what do you need me to do? You want me to sit here, or you want me to leave? And he gives me the control. He gives me the option to say, I want you to leave me alone. Because if he just thinks, oh, I think she wants me to leave her alone, and then he leaves, I'm like, how dare he leave me? Like, so by giving me the option to say, I want you to sit there, but I don't want you to talk, or I want you to give me a hug, or I want you to leave, he doesn't have to guess. Because, we're not miracle workers. You should just ask, what can I do? Do you need me to listen, or do you want answers? What do you want? How can I support you now? What do you normally do when you feel like this? All of those questions are great for giving you some insight. You don't have to guess. You don't have to be magic. You can just ask.
Yeah. I'm a big supporter of asking that question. How can I help you? Because like you said, it takes the guesswork out. We are not mind readers yet. So we shouldn't really expect, we shouldn't assume that people would know what we need. And likewise, we shouldn't assume that we know what they need. Best to ask, keeps it simple.
Yeah, definitely so. And I love that you say that you're a big kind of believer in asking, how can I help? Because that's another thing that I talk about regularly with partnerships. You could look at someone and just think, well, their business is going from strength to strength. Why would they want to help me? Or why would they need me? And actually, you don't know that maybe they just need something, and you would be the perfect person in that moment. Maybe, and it doesn't need to be something specific to your business. It could be something like, actually, you're my ideal client. Could you just look at this copy and tell me if it makes sense? Or it could be, actually, I've just released a new podcast interview. Is there any chance you could just go and leave a positive review, because I'm trying to boost the rankings? Like, there's so many things that you can do for other people in their businesses, no matter how established they are. And in return, so many things that people can do in their businesses, no matter how established that they are too. And I think it's so important to recognize that. I understand that when you reach a certain level in your business, it's probably not a good use of your time, for example, to speak to a group of only 5 people. I understand that. But you also don't know that all 5 of those people aren't your ideal client, desperate to work with you, and that might function. So obviously there hits a point where, as a CEO, you have to make decisions based on return on revenue or return on time and things like that. And I totally understand that. But if something just feels good for you, just do it. Doesn't really matter if it doesn't make you money, just do it. Feels good.
Yeah. So always ask that question, how can I help you? I personally find that question so helpful, is because when somebody asks me that question, a lot of times I don't even need anything from them. The fact that they bothered to ask me, or the fact that they noticed that there was something going on with me, a lot of times that's enough for me. I can work out a lot of my problems myself. But being seen and heard, I think that's really important.
Feel like that person has appreciated and acknowledged you.
Yeah.
And is offering help even if you don't need it. Yeah.
I mean, as in, I know that I can count on them. I can reach out to them. And that's what is enough. Yeah,
sometimes it literally is knowing that someone's got your back, even if you don't need it, knowing that someone's there if you do. It's the safety net of having other people that support you too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. somebody's got my back. And that's why I love that question so much.
Yeah. And that's why partnerships are so important in your business too, because not all partnerships need to be about making money, right? Because often I think people hear partnerships and they think, oh, okay, affiliate partners, you promote them and they promote you, and then you both make money. It doesn't need to be that. You don't know that the person that you're talking to might know your next client, might know someone who you need in your business right now. If you need somebody to support you with something, you don't know that they might be the person who reaches out to you and says, hey, I just saw on this post that link is broken. Just letting you know that your link doesn't work. People who care enough to tell you those things, or that they might just be the person that when you are like having one of those days where you're like, why have I started my own business? Because everybody has them. They might not talk about them, but they all have them. And maybe that person is just the person who leaves you a comment saying, I love this, or leaves a like, or leaves this is so funny, or sends a message saying, I was thinking about you today. And you just think, that's why I'm doing it. That's why. You never know.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, that might just keep us going.
Yeah. And again, I go back to this mental health thing as well. If you build your business based entirely on things that require you to show up, so things like lives, or like Facebook stories, Instagram stories, even podcasts, and things that involve you physically showing up every time, and that's your only thing that you build your business on, what happens when you can't show up? What happens if, God forbid, you fall ill, or you have a family emergency, or all of the internet in your town disappears for a week and you've no idea why? Then what? And partnerships keep your business going when you cannot keep going.
Oh, and that's so powerful.
Yeah. And so that for me was when I realized like I had to take a break because my mental health was struggling. And I realized people were still talking about me. People were still interacting in my Facebook group. People were still supporting each other, even when I wasn't there to support them as well. And you're building your community is building partnerships, whether you think about it that way or you don't, it is. So yeah, that's for me very, very important. A big part of why I really encourage people to build relationships with other people as well. You can't do everything alone. No, you can do some things alone, but you shouldn't need to. Yeah.
And there is only so much we can do, and only so far we can go when we are doing everything on our own.
And similarly to the example that I gave on the ship, you could be the best marketer. You could have like Facebook ads that are absolutely killing it, and your social media could be utterly fantastic, and you could work 20 hours a day, and you would still not get in front of as many people as you could if you built relationships with other people. Because what happens when you build a relationship with someone else, they open the door to their home, to their audience. So right now, I consider myself to be in your home. Right now, this Facebook group is a community that you have built, or your YouTube, wherever people are watching us, this is a community that you have built, and you have kindly invited me into your home so that I can meet your people, right? And I'm never going to be arrogant enough to suggest that everybody who watches this video knows who I am. There might be one or two who are like, oh, I've seen Tess before. But no way whatsoever. I would say at least 95% of the people that watch this will have never heard of me before, but might come and look me up now, you know?
Yeah. So having that humility to explore that collaboration and those relationships is really important.
Yeah, the humility, I think, and also the strong self-belief. There's a lot of mindset work that goes into collaboration, right? I always say it should be collaboration over competition. I always give people the example of that, and I saw this online myself. I did not come up with this myself, but I can't remember who it was, but that Burger King and McDonald's open next to each other on the same places, right? Yeah. Even though essentially they both sell burgers and fries.
Yeah.
The difference is that Burger King know that some people like Burger King fries better than they like McDonald's fries, whereas some people know that, or McDonald's knows that people love a McFlurry and they don't really like the Burger King ice cream or whatever it is. And so it's the confidence not in what they sell, but the way that they do it. And that is exactly the same in your business. If you ever catch yourself thinking that this online world is small and that no one's going to want to buy your thing because other people are doing the same thing, nobody is doing the same thing as you, because you are you and nobody else is you. So yeah, definitely.
It's important to always remember that we do we, and everybody does, even if it seems we are offering the same thing, they still do it in a slightly different way, and that makes them unique.
Yeah, and that's a big part of your marketing, and that's why I talk about being yourself, because if I show up and I just talk about what I do, I sound the same as other people who do what I do. But when I show up as me, which also involves me being quite open and vulnerable about mental health issues, and it means me cursing like a sailor with my own audience, and it means me speaking out about what I call the shady underworld of the online industry, when people do sleazy marketing things and I call them out on it. Or, you know, like I'm known for making funny reels about things that are just silly, you know? And those are all the things that make people want to come, because they just want to know Tess. The importance is finding the balance between building a business and building a fan club. You have to they have to meet, because if you build a big fan club but they never buy from you, then something's going wrong. And if you build a big business but nobody likes you, you're still something's going wrong. So yeah.
I think we need a bit of everything. We need fans, we need cheerleaders, we need clients, and so I think each of them have a place, and it's important to have them all.
Yeah, and partnerships allows for that. And I often kind of get asked, but you know, doesn't it feel like out of integrity? Feels a bit gross to create a relationship with somebody thinking that you want something from them. And I'm like, why do you have to do that? Why can't you create a relationship with someone thinking that you can give them something? Why does it have to be what they can do for you? If you feel out of integrity doing that, think about all the things that you can do for them. You can build relationships and should start solely with the connection. Where that connection goes after that, who knows? And of course, there are going to be people who you connect with who you know are your ideal client, and you just want to scream at them, I can help you, come to me, right? But you're still always people first, profit second, always. And then that's going to move in your business.
Yeah, that's so important. That's so important. Always start with connection and let that connection develop however it goes.
Yeah, and be intentional about it. Know where you would like it to go, but go in with the initial intention of just connection. Like don't unless you're super extrovert and this is what you want to do, I would never suggest that you just go out and suddenly try to start making friends with every single person that you come into contact with on the online world, because that's also impossible. So just be intentional about it. And that's where it comes back to these values. If you are struggling to figure out who to connect with, just come back to your values and who makes you feel good when you see their content or you see them talking to other people. Who makes you think, I wish I was like that, or wow, I really like them. That's a good indication that your values are probably in alignment.
I also find that getting into partnerships or collaborations require us to be able to trust other people as well as ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. This is, again, values, I think, comes into part of it, because when you do partner with someone, you become associated with them. By default, you become associated. Your audience sees you recommending one person, and then if that person goes and does something icky, your audience is like, wait a second, she said she was okay though, you know? And so, there's a degree of trust that comes into it, which is why the values exercise is the first thing that I do, so that you can try and eliminate. You can never 100% eliminate.
Yep.
The second thing is to let go of this feeling that, well, what about if I recommend this person? What about if my audience just goes and buys everything from them and then they don't buy anything from me anymore? And I always say, if you go to the doctor because you have a pain in your jaw, and then your doctor tells you it's because you've got a tooth infection, and they send you to a dentist, when you have earache, you will still return to the doctor. You will not go back to the dentist. It's you seek out people for the pain point that you have got. And so referring someone to someone else for something that you are unable to do for them only positions yourself in a further position of trust and authority, because you have shown that you are willing to help even when you don't benefit from it either way.
Yeah. I have noticed that when I give people an option, there are so many of them who would come back and say, no, we just want to work with you. And there are others who choose to work with someone else, and that's okay too. There are enough number of people in this world. I cannot work with everyone anyway.
No, and you really only want to work with the people who want to work with you. Like if you have to convince someone to work with you, they probably shouldn't be, because yes, okay, you've got the standard kind of objections and things that you would want to deal with. And I don't know if you're familiar with Catherine Watkins. She's a heart-led sales coach, and she talks about, instead of calling them objections, she calls them concerns, which I really like, because she's like, objections is very negative. That's very like, I don't want that. Concerns are, I'm worried about this. And so, yeah, you're going to get the standard ones, and not everybody might be able to financially invest at that time, or maybe they genuinely don't have the time. But a lot of the time, they already know deep down that they want to work with you, and you just kind of need to reassure them that that's okay. If you feel like you are pulling teeth, convincing them, objection, 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 let them go. Let them go. If they want to, they'll come back. Like it, I can say that anyone who has had that many questions before working with me tends to be a bit of a pain. When it comes to it. And that's no disrespect to them. That's because I convinced them to do something that they weren't feeling ready for, because I thought they were ready, or whatever, or I wanted the money, or I was worried they would go off to somewhere else. And it doesn't benefit either of us, because they don't get the results that I want them to get, or I know that they deserve to get. And also they see it the other way around. I didn't give them the results that I promised them. And
having to convince somebody to work with us, I think it doesn't put us in a strong position. It doesn't help them, and the relationship doesn't have that magic, because there's just too much work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm always quite vocal about this. I think as coaches or experts, coaches, counselors, trainers, like anyone who really has a genuine impact on people's lives and decisions, it is your care of duty to let someone know that this is not a good fit. It is part of your ethical duty to let somebody know that you can't get them the results that they want right now.
I think it is one of the requirements of ICF. So as an ICF coach, I have signed somewhere in the dotted line which says, I'm going to have that care of duty.
I am currently on my way through an ICF accredited thing as well, and it is one of their foundations is that you must show that duty of care. And if at any point it changes, express that too. You can't sign someone up at the beginning and then 6 weeks down the line think this isn't a good fit anymore and continue. You have to ethically have that conversation with them. I just recently refunded somebody $7,000, like literally gave them $7,000 back, because I said I could do this, but when I took this on, I had more time than I did. And then it got delayed for reasons that were out of both of our control. And by the time that it came back, I could have done it, and it would have been a half-assed job. It would have been not as good as it could have been when I first took the role on. I toyed with it for a while because $7,000 is a fair amount to refund, you know. And then I sent an email and I said, listen, I can't do the job as good as I would like to do. I'm going to give you the two options. You can delay it to this amount this time, but I understand that that won't be a fit for what your goals are right now. So with respect, I would prefer to refund the money. Please let me know. And she replied and was like, I have never had someone do this before. Really appreciate it. And then, you know, could we arrange the refund? And I just refunded it. And you know what? You would think that that would feel awful, but actually it was a massive relief, because this $7,000 was hanging over my head. She'd paid me for something and I wasn't doing it. And it was making me feel awful. I felt so much better when I refunded it.
Yeah. And I can see how the decision you took is tied into one of your core values, because right in the beginning of this conversation, you shared that integrity is important to you. And that's exactly what you adhere to. That's exactly what you exhibited.
Yeah, integrity is just so important to me. I think when people hand you their money, their time, or their energy, you have a duty of care. They're giving you their trust.
Yeah.
And especially in this online world, there's lots of what I call shady marketing, where it's not a lie. It's not a lie, but they're not transparent about the actual steps there. So, you know, when people talk about being a six-figure coach, I 100% believe that people should be celebrating that. 100%. Absolutely. Shouting from the rooftops. But if you have got a team of 5 working for you and you've been established in business for several years, make that clear too. Because otherwise people, they come and they look in this world and they think, oh my goodness, everybody is making 6 figures, or everyone is doing $10,000 or $20,000 months, or everybody, you know, you see all of these kind of marketing buzzword kind of things, you know, make 5K months, sign 6 new clients. And I'm like, okay, so just to be clear, if I joined your program that promises me 5 new clients at the end of 6 weeks, what's the starting stage? All of these testimonials who were talking about how fantastic your program was, where were they when they started your program? Did they already have an established offer? Did they already have an audience? Did they already have what they needed? Because in that case, it should be made clear. It should say, Tessa was achieving 2 to 3K months when she started this program, and now she's achieving 10. It should not be that you allow people to come in totally brand new, fresh off the boat, with no idea what to do, and then think that they're going to make 10K next month. That's not okay.
Yes, I think in the online world, what we see is true. It's not the whole truth.
Yes. And isn't that the case with everything? Not just in business, but in everything. And so that's a big part of how I talk about mental health. And now, do I share every moment of my mental health journey with other people? No, because I feel a big part of that is my choice. It's private. And also, do people really want to see photographs of me crying at 3 o'clock in the morning? Probably not, you know. But if I did feel called to share it because I thought maybe other people need to see that this happens, that you can totally have everything together until 9 o'clock at night and then just lose your head for no reason. And so, you know, I always say to people, please don't be fooled into thinking that by being yourself, you have to give your whole self. You do not. You don't. The way that you behave with your mother is different to how you behave with your partner, is different to how you behave with your best friend, is different to how you behave with the postman. All of those, you are yourself in all of those interactions, but you give different parts. And so in your business, don't confuse being yourself with giving all of you. You don't have to do that. You can absolutely maintain your own boundaries, but what you do give, allow it to be you. If I showed up now talking to you in a plummy British accent, and you know, and then people, they come and, you know, being very polite and very formal, and then people came on my Instagram, they'd be like, I don't think that's the same person. It would be confusing. So I made the commitment a long time ago to show up as myself, because guess what, that requires no effort. I am naturally myself.
Yeah.
When you try to be like other people or be what you think other people need, you're going to tire yourself out. That is not sustainable. Just be yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you just spoke my language, Tessa. I completely related to that because these are the exact concepts we use in storytelling as well. We don't have to give the whole of our story, just give what is relevant to our audience, what they need to hear, what you want to share, and how much ever you are ready to share.
Yeah.
And do it with integrity and authenticity.
Absolutely. And I love storytelling for that very reason, because and storytelling has played a huge part in my success with high ticket sales when I was working on ships, because that was the only way that I could create relationships with people in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
So absolutely. We're speaking each other's languages.
Well, no wonder we connect so well.
Yeah. I always can tell, and I think, you know, we've had limited conversations here and there, but yeah, each time we have, and it's a values thing. I've always got good vibes. Have I done a big deep dive into your life? Absolutely not. But every time I speak to you, I think, oh, nice. So yeah.
Oh, this conversation has been so good, so delightful. Tell us, Tessa, how can people experience some of this goodness? How can they work with you?
Oh, so I, as part of being myself, I hate doing endless Zoom calls for coaching. And so I have a day of business coaching offer, which is over Messenger. It's over Voxer, or if you really hate Voxer, we can do it over Messenger too. And it's basically like having a little business coach in your pocket for the entire day. You get 8 hours of being able to message back and forth. And I always say it's like a VIP day, but without the VIP price tag. So that for you to be able to talk to me for 8 hours is $345, and you can come and do that. And that is, I call it walkie-talkie test time, because it's like a radio and you get to walk and talk and be with me. So yes.
I am not sure if I have seen any coaches deliver coaching on Messenger.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally don't know any. I'm sure there are people who do that. This is so fascinating.
So I learned this concept from Lizzie Goddard, who is a wonderful, wonderful person in the online business world, who I really enjoy the ethos of, because she is very much, again, about being yourself, doing what feels fun, doing what feels right, not necessarily boxing yourself into a niche or a perfect audience. And she offers Day of Voxer, and so I learned how to do that. I did her Day of Voxer program, and I learned how to do it myself, and it just resonated so much with me, because what it does is it allows for the space for people to process what we're talking about and even take action on it in the moment, and then come back and say, okay, I've done that, this came up, can you take a look? And so you get, it's kind of like having me sat with you as you work through your day as normal. And so I've had some great results. I had a client who wrote her entire sales page during this day, and picked her kids up from school, and went and picked her passport up from the post office at the same time, because she can do that because she's not in front tied to a Zoom call the entire time. And she had the space. I said, this is what I would recommend for this section. Go ahead and work on that. And she did it. And then she came back and she said, I've done it. Can you look? And then I looked, and then I gave some more feedback there as well. So yeah, it's I love the structure of that. So that's the main way of receiving kind of one-to-one time with me. And I have next week, which I would love to invite up people to. Next week, I have a live workshop, which is Master Your Masterclass. And that is all about, we're going to work together to create a structure for a masterclass that converts the way that you want it to. So maybe you want to sell, maybe you want to build your audience, maybe you just want to feel appreciated, whatever the goal of your masterclass is. But we're going to talk about creating introductions that position you as authority, creating closes that allow people to actually do what you want them to do, and how to kind of engage and interact in a masterclass in a way that feels good for you as well. Because I know from past experience that I have been a disaster. My first ever masterclass, I chickened out of the sale at the end. I did the whole masterclass and then I got to the end and I didn't sell. And I just got off the masterclass and was like, I did nothing.
Yeah.
So that's happening next Wednesday, the 27th of October at 7 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. Eastern. And I'm holding it live once as an introductory price of $15. And then after that, the price will go up. Once the replay goes out, the price will double to start with, and then we'll see how popular it is. Maybe I'll raise it again. But the introductory price is $15. So I can pass you the link so people can sign up for that too.
Just drop all the links underneath this video so we'll have everything in one place.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll make sure I'll drop those so that you've got them all. I'll put them all in there as well. So yeah, those are the two main things at the minute, because the commitment phobe in me, the person that likes to the multi-passionate, the one that likes to change her mind all of the time, I don't like long coaching programs because I don't like long coaching programs. And I find that a lot of my audience also, sometimes they need more than a power hour, but they don't need a 6-week program. They need just that extra support. And so yeah, VIP day without the VIP price tag, basically. So that's my walkie-talkie test time, and I love it.
Oh,
yeah.
Sounds amazing. Yeah. It'll be great to have all the links.
Of course, if anyone just wants to come and connect with me, please do. As you can probably tell by this video, I do love to talk to people. So I'm on Instagram as Messy and Successy. And my only rule is that when you're on Instagram, if you come follow me and you send me a message, ask me a weird question, ask me something strange, come send me a weird question. I love this because every now and again, someone will just pop into my inbox with a really strange question. And I think I answer it. And then I always say, where did you find me? Where did you find me? Because you've watched me somewhere, because you came and asked me this odd question. So yeah, I'm over there and I have a Facebook group, Messy and Successy, partnership strategy for online entrepreneurs. So I will make sure all those links are dropped on this video, and encourage anyone who's watching on a replay, if they've got any questions, if they need clarity on anything that I'm talking about, if they just want to comment, I would love to see it all. I appreciate anyone who's taken the time to watch this far. So
wonderful. Tessa, before we let you go, what is one big message you want to share with our audience today?
I'm going to return to the same thing I always say: never underestimate the power of simply being a decent human being.
Yeah.
That's it.
Be a decent human being. Don't be a dick.
That's it. Yeah. Don't partner with shitheads. That's it.
And don't be a shithead yourself. I've got to remember that first before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Wonderful. So. Yeah, definitely a message worth remembering and implementing for all of us.
Yes.
Tessa, thank you so much for coming and talking to us today. It's been delightful.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been probably one of the most fun that I've done. I love to feel like I'm having a conversation. So this is awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.